This video is an intervention, not for you, for your parents. Because somewhere in America right now, a well-meaning adult is telling a teenager to study vocabulary flashcards for the SAT verbal section. That advice, which may have worked beautifully in 1989, is now approximately as useful as bringing a rotary phone to the testing center. The SAT verbal section has been redesigned 3 times since your parents took it. 3. The test they remember and the test you're taking share a name and roughly nothing else. So we're going to fix that. Here's everything that changed, everything that matters, and what you should actually be doing instead of making flashcards. Let's go back to 1989. The SAT verbal section had 3 question types. The star of the show was called the analogy. An analogy question looked like this: oarsman, regatta, a runner, marathon, be referee, tournament. The idea: figure out the relationship between the first pair. An oarsman competes in a regatta, then find the matching relationship. Runner competes in a marathon. Answer: A. Totally logical. Completely fair. Assuming you knew what a regatta was. A regatta, for those of you who did not grow up attending them on your family's yacht, is a boat race. It became the most famous question in SAT history, not because it was hard, but because it was hard for the wrong reasons. If you went to a school with a crew team, you probably knew it. If you went to a school without a pool, you were guessing. This became so notorious that the College Board actually used it as an example of what not to do, a monument to the era. The second question type was sentence completion. The senator's speech was widely regarded as underscore, containing nothing original. Banal means unoriginal and commonplace. Prescient means able to see the future. If you knew banal, you got it in for seconds. If you didn't, you had a 20% chance of guessing right and an 80% chance of being mildly humiliated. This is why SAT prep in the 1980s and 1990s looked like this: thousands of flashcards. You've memorized definitions in bulk, drilled Latin roots, and tried to absorb as much obscure vocabulary as possible before test day. The third type was critical reading, passage-based comprehension, main idea, tone, inference. This was actually the most useful. Spoiler, it was not more productive. The verbal section scored 200 to 800. Math was also 200 to 800. Total 400 to 1600. Remember this number, it comes back. Turning point 1, 2005. Someone at the College Board finally said, the oarsman regatta question was not our finest hour. Analogies were eliminated, completely gone. In their place, more reading passages. Also added, a writing section. This pushed the total score to 2,400. Math 800, reading 800, writing 800. The 1600 scale died. Nobody asked for this. Turning point 2, 2016, the bigger one. New leadership at the College Board announced the most significant redesign since the 1990s. Their goal: make the test actually reflect what college and career readiness looks like. Sentence completions. Eliminated 30 years of flashcard culture, gone. No more memorizing encomium, which means a formal expression of praise. In their place, a new approach called words in context. Vocabulary still shows up, but now you're given a passage. You're asked what a word means in that specific context. Knowing the dictionary definition isn't enough anymore. The total score returned to 1600. The 2400 experiment lasted 11 years and is not mourned. Turning point 3, 2024. The test went digital. Not just digital adaptive, which means the test is now different for every student. More on that in a second. The digital SAT has 2 sections, reading and writing, and math. Total time, 2 hours and 14 minutes. That's 36 minutes shorter than the paper SAT. This is the most popular change and everyone agrees on it. The reading and writing section works like this. Module 1, 27 questions, 32 minutes. Break, 10 minutes. Module 2, 27 questions, 32 minutes. Now, here's the part that sounds like a video game mechanic, because it basically is. After Module 1, the algorithm analyzes how you did. Score well. Module 2 is hard. Struggle. Module 2 is easy. You don't get to choose. The test chooses for you, silently. Hard Module 2 means you're on track for the highest scores. Easy Module 2 means you're capped, and here's the part that really stings. You can get every single question right in Module 2 and still not reach 800 because the easy module literally doesn't have enough ceiling to get you there. So Module 1 is not just the first half of the test. Module 1 is the sorting hat. Module 1 is the boss fight. Every question in Module 1 matters, including the ones that seem easy, especially the ones that seem easy. Actually, because easy questions you get wrong are the ones that knock you down a tier. The strategy is simple. Do your best throughout. Don't rush. Don't panic. And absolutely do not decide that the first few questions are warm-up questions, because there are no warm-up questions. Good news. No penalty for wrong answers. Guess freely. Just not on all of them. In part 2, the 4 content domains, the question type nobody saw coming, and the actual priority list for what to study. The regatta is behind us. The semicolon awaits. Part 2 coming. SAT-verbal, then an NOW part 2 of 2, 4 domains. 1 plot twist, and the actual priority list. In part 1, we covered the history, the oarsmen at the regatta, the death of the flashcard era, and the adaptive module system. Now we're getting into what's actually on the test, all 54 reading and writing questions, organized into 4 content domains. The 54 reading and writing questions fall into 4 content domains. Think of it as 4 different things the test is trying to measure. Domain 1, craft and structure, 28% of questions. This is where vocabulary lives now, and it's nothing like the old test. The biggest question type is words in context. Not what does this word mean, but what does it mean here, in this sentence, in this situation. Example, the committee's report was brief but underscore, covering every major finding without a single wasted sentence. You have to think brief but blank, covering everything. The but is doing work there. The report is brief and complete. That's concise. This is why flashcards alone won't save you. Knowing succinct means brief gets you nowhere if you don't understand the difference. Also in domain 1, text, structure and purpose, and cross-text connections, where you referee a tiny argument between 2 passages. Domain 2, information and ideas, 26% of questions. This is the comprehension domain. You reason about passages from science, history, literature, central ideas. What's the main point? Inferences. What can you conclude even if it's not stated directly? Command of evidence, textual, which quote best supports a claim. Command of evidence, quantitative, is a claim about a graph accurate. This domain most closely resembles actual college work, reasoning carefully, not making up things that data didn't say. High school training for a real skill. Domain 3, standard English conventions, 26% of questions. This is the grammar and punctuation domain. And before you tune out, listen, 26%, more than a quarter of the entire section. Determined by whether you know what a semicolon is. Nobody talks about this enough. Boundaries, questions, where does the punctuation go? Comma, semicolon, colon, dash, or period. Every one of these has a logic. Semicolons connect to complete thoughts. Colons introduce what follows. Commas cannot connect to full sentences on their own. That's a comma splice. Form, structure, and sense. Subject-verb agreement, verb tense, pronouns, modifier placement. The classic grammar stuff, tested cleanly. Here's the exciting part. Grammar is learnable fast. Unlike vocabulary or reading comprehension, the punctuation rules are finite. There are roughly 12 scenarios. You can learn all 12 in a focused afternoon. Students who do this reliably pick up points an afternoon for 14 points. The math is good. Domain 4, expression of ideas, 20% of questions. The writing domain, and this is where the plot twist lives. Transitions, which connecting word fits. Furthermore, however, for example, in contrast, you can eliminate them if you understand the passage. And then, rhetorical synthesis. This question type did not exist on any version of the SAT before 2024. Here's how it works. You're given a set of research notes, like a student took them. Question: which sentence most effectively uses the research notes to accomplish this goal? Present the main finding while acknowledging its limitation. You pick the sentence that accurately combines information with a specific purpose, true, relevant, and well-constructed. This is a real skill. It's what journalists do. It's what researchers do in abstracts. It's what your boss will want you to do in emails. And it is absolutely not on a flashcard. Okay, deep breath. Here's the priority list. STIER. Do this first. Words in context. The single biggest question type. Practice reasoning about context clues, especially contrast clues. Grammar and punctuation. Learn the 12 punctuation rules. Learn subject-verb agreement and the common modifier traps. Fastest return on study time. A TIER. Do this second. Rhetorical synthesis. Practice combining 2 pieces of information into one clean, accurate sentence with a stated purpose. Command of evidence with data. Get comfortable reading a table alongside a text. The question is almost always, does this data say what the passage claims? The old SAT-verbal rewarded knowing things, definitions, obscure relationships. The new SAT-verbal rewarded doing things, reading carefully, reasoning about evidence, using language precisely. That shift is not cosmetic. It's the whole philosophy of the test. So here's the updated advice to bring back to your parents. Thank them for the flashcards. Put the flashcards down and go read something, anything really. And when you encounter a word you don't know, don't look it up in isolation. Read the sentences around it. Figure out what the passage is telling you. That's the skill now. The regatta question is never coming back. The test has moved on. And now, so have you. Study smart.